Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Daladayine. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Shilakankanakalaye. Shilakankanakalaye. Ito Narsinga Parato Narsinga. Ito Narsinga Parato Narsinga. Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsinga. Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsinga. Bahir Narsinga Hridaye Narsinga. Bahir Narsinga Hridaye Narsinga. Namadim Sharanam Prapade. Namadim Sharanam Prapade. Namadim Sharanam Prapade. Namadim Sharanam Prapade. Savakara Kamala Vare Naka Adhuta Shringa. Kalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvina. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Kamalavare Napa Adhuta Shringa. Kalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvina. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jagadish Hare. Jagadish Hare. Savakara Kamala Vare Namakuta Shringa. Kalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvina. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Hare Kamala Vare Namakuta Shringa. Kalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvina. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jagadish Hare. Jagadish Hare. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jagadish Hare. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jagadish Hare. Jagadish Hare. Jaya Narsingadev, 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 Jaya Narsingadev. Jaya
Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Welcome to our class, dear devotees. Thank you so much for showing up on a long weekend. It's always a challenge to come to a class when you see the rest of the whole world is partying on the Memorial Day. And I always kind of think that, yeah, Memorial Day, when we are thinking about our ancestors and the past people, right, from our past, should be a day of lot more prayers, right, for them, and not a day of eating. But anyways, enough said on that. So we will get started. We are doing Karma Yoga in chapter 3 of Bhagavad-gita. So we will continue. And we have been focusing on one word, and it starts with a Y. Are you going to tell me what that is? Okay, take out your chat pads and tell me. For the last few sessions, we have been concentrating on one word, and it starts with a Y. Let's see what you have for me. So we have on the call Virava Bhav Mataji, Varshana Mataji, Sutapa Mataji, Sadhana Mataji, Meera Mataji, and Sukumal Radhe Mataji. That is indeed fantastic. And watching us on Facebook are our dear Dilip Bhai Patel Prabhu and Vidyavadhu Mataji. And the pranams to both of you. And if you remember on Facebook, you can type it as well. And I see Vidyavadhu has typed in. And so has Shraddha-devi Dasi Mataji and Varshana Mataji and Sukumal Radhe Mataji. So at least 4 people are there still awake in my class. I'm just yes, and it is Yajna. So we will continue. We'll continue with that. But we will first do a little bit of a recap, just to get our bearings about, all the kind of things that we have been talking about in relationship to Yajna. And so I'm just going to bring up the verses here and start sharing the screen with you. And if anybody can confirm by giving me a thumbs up that you are able to see what I'm sharing. All right, so Sutapa Mataji gave me a thumbs up. Thank you. And I got 2 thumbs up, one for Virava Bhav. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And we will continue here. So somewhere in the middle, after Arjuna has been confused, talks about his confusion, tells to Krishna, hey, don't keep telling me confusing, don't keep giving me confusing instructions. Sometimes you say this and sometimes you say that. Just tell me what I'm supposed to do now. And so, when we ask things like that, it's not a good thing. We have to be patient and let the person who's giving instructions walk you through the various steps of, how the instructions have to be followed. And so, of course, then Krishna tells him that, hey, buddy, don't even think of not doing work, because that's not an option at all. You will get reactions from even not working, right? And then he says that, you have to do your duty. And then from text number 9 onwards is where he says, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. So sacrifice of Vishnu, this concept comes up, and this is Yajna that we do. Right? And then he here talks about that, how the Yajna was created, when it was created. So he says that in the beginning of creation, he created the demigods and he created generations like us, and then along with sacrifices for Vishnu. So, you got your directors and the controllers, the demigods, who provide you material things, but he also gave you sacrifices for Vishnu, the instructions, and then said, okay, if you follow these principles, the Yajna principles, then you will be happy, right? So do that. That's what he said in the beginning. And why? Because, when you do the Yajnas, and demigods who are controlling all the material amenities for you, they'll be happy with you, and they will, they will bestow whatever you need, your necessities. and then both of you will be happy. Prosperity is going to be there for both of you, right? So the key word here is he's talking about there has to be cooperation between men and demigods, right? We can't go against the will of the demigod. And so then when we do that, then he's telling us that, they will, if you do this, you'll get the necessities. But then in this verse, he's also emphasizing that if you don't do that, right? So material facilities are available in general for all of us, right? In the sense that if you plant a seed, usually the tree comes out and it'll bloom and it'll give you the fruits. Now, the question is that when the fruit comes from the tree, what do you do with it? Do you just climb the tree and start eating it on the tree itself? Lot of people went for cherry picking this weekend with their kids, and so that's a real test when you go to a cherry picking site and you pick lots of those red juicy cherries, luscious and beautiful, and what do? Do you pop them to your mouth, or do you say, I'm going to wait, go home, offer them to the Lord first, and then I'm going to eat it, right? So this is what Krishna is saying, and so these verses have to be applied in every nook and corner of our lives. It's not just that 7 to 8 and the evenings when we sit to Bhagavad-gita that we relish these and says, yeah, I know this is how it's to be done, right? So Bhagavad-gita is a manual for life. Things will apply in every situation that we have. And so this, he says that, if you enjoy such gifts without giving them in return, then you are a thief, right? So that's a big statement that God is making there. And then he is saying that now what happens for this one and that one, this type of people and that type of people, right? So here he's saying that when you are giving yajna, when you're performing yajna, then you will not get any sinful reactions because you are eating food that has offered first for sacrifice. So that sacrifice, the act of offering it to Krishna and Krishna accepting it, transforms that food and purifies and then sanctifies it. So that's why we say prasadam is sanctified food. So we eat that, and so chapter text number 13 talks about, right? And if you don't do that, then you eat only sin. Now in 14 we talk about all living beings subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced from the performance of sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties, right? So if you need food, right? And at that time we had talked about that. What if somebody says that I don't need grains, I will eat meat. But then we also talked about the other day that meat also comes from animals who eat grains. So ultimately, if there are no grains, then there won't be any deer and cow and those kind of animals. So the lions also will die ultimately. So if you say that I'm going to just survive on meat, that's not an option. Grains are required for all walks of life, for all kinds of creatures there, right? But to have grains, you need some rains. And how will you have the rains? The rains will come if you do yajna. And now comes the question that, what yajna am I supposed to do? Right? Should I turn on my gas in the morning and throw some samagri on it? Is that yajna, or what am I supposed to do? Right? So here Krishna is saying that yajna is born from prescribed duties. That is, whatever are your prescribed duties, you do those, and that is your yajna, right? So a lot of times Matajis who have a small child, they come and ask me and they say that we are not able to do 16 rounds now. What am I supposed to do? I'm fallen, I'm this and I'm that. Like when I tell them that, no, you're not fallen. God has given you a bigger responsibility now, and that is to raise this child in Krishna consciousness. So you are doing your prescribed duty as a mother at that point in time. That is what your duty is. And so you just focus on that. And then also looking at it from the other perspective about yajna and the mechanics of yajna, we know that kalau nasti eva gatiranyatha, that there is no other way in Kali Yuga than to chant the holy names of the Lord, right? And in the last verse we read about that regulated activities, how you regulate your life, do's and the don'ts, right? Do's and don'ts, where are these regulations coming? So they are prescribed in the Vedas. The Vedas talk about that, and we also talked last time about from where do Vedas come? From where are Vedas created? Will you take out your notepads and tell me? How are the both Vedas created? Do you remember? The Vedas. Yes, yes. And Virabha Mataji says that Vedas come through Vishnu, and that is right. And Archana Mataji gives a more precise answer, and she says it comes from the breathing of the Supreme Lord, and so does Varshana Mataji. So Vedas come from breathing of the Supreme Lord, right? And in contrast, we had pointed out that when we breathe out, especially in the morning, it's a bad smell that comes out, right? And we think that we are God, right? It's such a small thing, we fail so miserably. And the Mayavadis can think that they are God. So now we are now ready with the having done the recap to go into text number 16, which is our text for today. Evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayat tihayaha aghayur indriya ramo mogham partha sajivati. Evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayati hayaha aghayur indriya ramo mogham partha sajivati. Evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayati hayaha aghayur indriya ramo mogham partha sajivati. Synonyms. Evam, thus. Thus means there's some connection with the previous words. Thus, pravartitam. Pravartitam means established by the Vedas. Chakram, cycle. Na, does not. Anuvartayati, adopt. Iha, in this life. Yaha, one who. Agha, ayu, whose life is full of sins. So agha means sin, and ayu means life. So agha ayu, whose life is full of sins. Can you give me an example of somebody who was agha ayu? Agha ayu. Udharan dijiye. Give me an example, please. His life was very sinful. Hamsa says Sukumara Mataji. Viraha Bhav says Ajamila. Meera says Ajamila. Ajamila is trending today, huh? It comes up. Right, yes. Right, and so, and then Ravana. Okay, and then what about somebody who was, anagha, did not have sins, does not have sins, is not sinful. Anagha. Anagha. Well, Arjuna is trending. Yes, Arjuna it is. And Krishna addresses him as Maya Anagha, Nagha, Anagha all the time, right? Okay, so now if we were to adopt a child, what will you call? Say that in Sanskrit. Yes, Prahlad is a very good answer too. Anuvartayati. All right, very good. Adopt. Adopt, yes, to take, right? Adopt is to take, follow, and also to take care of, right? All right, very good. And somebody who is just enjoying his senses, what will you call that person? India Aramaha, says Meera Mataji, Parishana Mataji. Right? So they are Aramaha, they enjoying completely Ramante in the joys that Indriyas bring. Okay. And if something is established, right, by the Vedas, what would you call that in Sanskrit? Pravartitam, says Sukumal Radhi Mataji, right? Meera is also saying that, Sudapa is also saying that. Right, pravartitam, very good. So pravartitam, so these are some of the key words here. Pravartitam, established by the Vedas. Anuvartayati is to adopt. So whatever has been established in the Vedas, then you adopt them in your life, right? So whatever is pravartitam in the Vedas or established by the Vedas, you do the anuvartayati, you follow it, right? And Indre Ramaha, do not do that. Do not spend your time in just enjoying your senses outside of the scope of what Vedas allow you to do, indulge in. Okay. All right, so translation, Krishna says, my dear Arjuna, or one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice thus established by the Vedas, certainly leads a life full of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person lives in vain. The mammonist philosophy of work very hard and enjoy sense gratification is condemned herein by the Lord. Therefore, for those who want to enjoy this material world, the above mentioned cycle of performing yagyas is absolutely necessary. One who does not follow such regulations is living a very risky life, being condemned more and more. By nature's law, this human form of life is specially meant for self-realization in either of the three ways, namely Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. There is no necessity of rigidly following the performances of the prescribed yagyas for the transcendentalists who are above vice and virtue. But those who are engaged in sense gratification require purification by the above mentioned cycle of yagya performances. There are different kinds of activities. Those who are not Krishna conscious are certainly engaged in sensory consciousness, sense enjoyment. Therefore, they need to execute pious work. The yagya system is planned in such a way that sensory conscious persons may satisfy their desires without becoming entangled in the reaction of sense gratificatory work. The prosperity of the world depends not on our own efforts, but on the background arrangement of the Supreme Lord directly carried out by the demigods. Therefore, the yagyas are directly aimed at particular demigods mentioned in the Vedas. Indirectly, it is the practice of Krishna consciousness, because when one masters the performance of yagyas, one is sure to become Krishna conscious. But if by performing yagyas one does not become Krishna conscious, such principles are counted as only moral codes. One should not therefore limit his progress only to the point of moral codes, but should transcend them to attain Krishna consciousness. Om Tat Sat. Right? Okay. So before I go in deeper into it, I'd like to capture what you have heard. And I'm going to unmute your lines to allow you to reflect a little bit, and then we'll go deeper into it. So let's see. And you can also raise your hands and comment us on that. Anything that you heard so far for the last 20 minutes or so, we'll just take it all here. And Meera Mataji raised her hand first, looking at the participant list. And so go ahead, Meera Mataji, tell us. Unmute yourself and please speak. Are you speaking on mute, Mataji, Meera Mataji? Is Meera saying something? It's okay. I have allowed you to unmute yourself, though. Let me see. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. It was not set. Yeah, I clicked it, but it didn't take my click. Meera, can you try one more time?
Okay, thank you. It works. Hare Krishna. The very last.
I was just saying how much can be conveyed by not even listening. I mean, I just see Varshana Mataji speaking something and I don't hear her, but I still understand. The sense organs. Okay. Yeah, sorry, Meera Mataji.
Yeah, it helps to show the face then.
It is good to have a video. I feel very lost, when I'm talking to people who are behind the camera. Like, that reciprocation doesn't happen. So, yeah.
Actually, the very last line stood out for me, that even if you conduct moral codes and you are not Krishna consciousness, it's really of no use. Isn't it something like that in the last two lines?
Yes, you caught the very, very, very powerful lines from there. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Very good. Who is next? Varshana Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, see, I felt that the one who does not perform yajna, he leads a life of a sin, and living, you see, life only for your own sense gratification is actually not a life. You have to live the one who has given you everything. You have to be, you have to have a gratitude for him, be thankful to him, and pray him.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Sutapa Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, my reflection was same as Meera Mataji. So I also took that line, but she told.
Last line.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if you're done with it, then if you can lower your hands when you're done, and otherwise I get confused if I see raised hands there. Yeah, so this is definitely there. And so you see how we were, this verse was building. So we were going through all the previous verses here, and now Krishna is explaining in this particular verse that this philosophy that people sometimes do say that, we sometimes hear people say that I'm a self-made man. And it is used in a very nice term in the sense that maybe they had a lot of difficulties. They were growing up, they came from a poor family, or father was drunkard, beats them, or mother was wayward, and so on. And so they went through all these difficulties, and then they were successful in life. And then they say that I'm a self-made man. What do you think such a person is? Is that person a self-made person? What exactly is going on there in their lives?
Mataji, without the mercy of the Lord, we cannot do anything.
Exactly. Exactly. Ahankara vimudatma karta ham iti manyate. Right? So to think that, I'm going to work hard and enjoy sense gratification. The first thing also is that, how much of sense gratification can you really enjoy? So Prabhupada says the Mammonist philosophy. The Mammonist philosophy is when you are, Mammonist philosophy focuses on money and wealth like that, right? So that's a philosophy that I'll work very hard and I'll make a lot of money and then I will enjoy. Right. So there's this very famous story that we read about how much land does a man need, right? And so there was this story. Yeah, there was a story about a man. There's a farmer who needs some land, and there's another man who's selling it, but he's not selling it the normal way that we sell the land. The trick there, or the game there, is that you're going to get on a horse, and then you start riding the horse, and you reach the place where you think, as much as you want to go, as far as you want to go, but on the way back, you have to come on foot. You cannot come back on the horse. So you go this distance, and then you come back, and you have on foot. So this way, horse, this way, foot. And then you have to do this trip, round trip before sunset. And so this man is, riding his horse and is galloping and kicking the horse, and horse is going very fast. And it's beautiful, lush, green land, and there are orchards and rivers and brooks. It's beautiful. And he says, I want it all. I want it all. I want it all. So he goes, and then, while he's enjoying and covering his wealth and gaining all that, he then says, okay, now, he realizes that it's time for him to turn back. And then, of course, you can't go back on a horse. So then he has to go back, and now he realizes that he has come too far out. So he starts to run, and he runs and runs and runs the whole distance. Somehow he's out of breath. He's thirsty, but he doesn't stop to drink water because the sun is going down, about to reach the horizon. And then, when he's just like 3 feet away from his starting post, he falls on the ground from sheer exhaustion. He dies. And so they dig up a hole in the ground 6 feet long, and they put him in it. And the story says, this is how much land a man needs, 6 feet only, right? So we think that we work hard, that we will be able to enjoy life. So that itself is the foundation of that philosophy is wrong. Because you cannot enjoy whatever you want. You will only enjoy as much as has been destined for you. Material opulences, material enjoyments are destined, right? So just as miseries come uncalled for, happiness will also come uncalled for. You don't have to run after it. So this Maimonides philosophy, work hard and enjoy sense gratification, is not only is wrong, Krishna is condemning it. Because is condemn. Condemn is a very strong word, right? So then he's saying that those who want to enjoy this material world, the abundance of cycle of performing yagyas. And so there's a very interesting, thing in this material world and spiritual also, actually, in this Lord's creation, that you find lotuses, right? Namaha Pankajnabhaya, right? How many of you memorize that? Raise your hands. Or tried to. Made one attempt. All right, good. If you're behind the cameras, I don't know if you're raising your hands. But anyway, yeah, Namaha Pankajnabhaya, Namaha Pankajmaline, right? Namaha Pankajnetraya, Namaha Pankajangrihe. So so there's there's lotus there. That's one thing. And then we also see circular things. The planet is a circle, Our Brahman, although it looks like a oval, but inside it is a sphere. Inside that oval is a sphere, like that. So tell me some of the circular things you see in this world, in this material world. What are some of the circular things that you see? Keep typing examples and tell me, or you can unmute yourself and tell me also. Moon, says Meera, and I would say full moon. Okay. All right, sun. Okay.
Sun.
All right,
Ball.
sun.
Ball. A plate.
Plate, yes.
All the planets.
All the planets. In your body, is there something which is round?
The cells.
Eyeball.
Sorry?
I mean, the cells are almost round, not round.
Yeah, some of the cells are round. Eyeballs are round. Inside the eyeball, is there something which is round?
Yeah, that cornea. Cornea
Yeah, the
is
cornea is round. Okay. Then in your mala?
Yeah, these are round.
The fire.
It's round, right? Right? And you can open your mouth round, right?
The nuclei.
Nuclei are round. Okay. So there are a lot of structures in this world that are round. Wheel, cars, they are round. Bangles, right? There's a lot of things that are round. And then we also find another thing which is round. So something about round. What is it about the round shape? There's something specific about the round shape, right? You start at one point and you keep walking.
Circular.
There's no beginning. So there is no beginning and then no end when you have a closed loop like that. And circle is a perfect closed loop, right? So so there is a beginning and there is no end, in the sense that even if you reach the end, then you start again, right? So this is also known as a cycle, right? Now tell me some cycles that you see in life.
Life cycle.
Weather, Mataji.
Sorry? Life
The
cycle?
weather. Oh, life cycles are you talking about?
Birth and death.
That is life cycle. And Sutapa, what were you saying?
Mataji, I was telling that the weather, like summer and then like spring, it will
The
again
seasonal
start.
cycles?
Yeah.
Seasonal cycles, yeah. Marth sparshas tu konteya sitoshun sukha dukkada agam apaniyo anityas tam titikshasva bharata. Krishna says, right? That these come and go. Agam apaniyo anityas, right? They will come and they will go. They will come and they will go again, right? So that is a cycle. And of course, birth, there's people die, right? We go through the 6 transformations, we are born, we grow, right? And then we have, we reproduce, then we stay at a particular level, then we start to dwindle, and then we die, and then we're born again, right? So that's the life cycle. Okay, if you look at nature, do you find any other cycles there in addition to seasonal cycles? And Sadhana Mataji, were you saying something?
Season.
Mataji, I was going to say the birth and death. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Okay.
The
Any other
About the
cycles?
seasons.
The planetary cycles.
And what do you mean by planetary
The
cycles?
planets, how they
Orbit? You mean the orbital
the
cycle?
orbits. Yeah, they orbit
Orbit,
around.
right? Yeah. Yeah, they're going round and round. The moon comes back and then again go back, right? The moon also goes through few phases of the moon, right? There's full moon and there's new moon, there's crescent, like that, right? So you see that go there. What else do you see? What
The
other
yugas,
cycles?
the yugas.
Yugas, fantastic.
Yugas,
Yeah, and this is very, very important thing in our philosophy. It's a very important point that you bring up, Sadhana Mataji. Because usually we understand time as, there's starting point, ending point, and there's past, present, and future. That's how we understood time to be, right? But when you extend it continuously on both the directions, on the timeline continuously on both the directions, then there was a movie, I don't know, when I was young, not even young, when I was a smaller child. There was a movie, maybe Varshana might remember. There was a movie called Kal, Aaj aur Kal. I don't know if you remember, right? So it's a play of the word Kal over there. Kal, Aaj aur Kal. Kal means yesterday, and Aaj means today, and Kal also means tomorrow. So look at the beauty that they are using the word Kal for today as well as tomorrow, for yesterday as well as tomorrow. And there's a philosophical bend to that, the usage of that word. And it is that in our philosophy, time is also cyclical. And Krishna uses the word here, he uses the word cycle. And I'm going to start sharing the screen and tell me quickly, what is the word for cycle?
Chakram.
Cakram.
Chakra, right? So there is chakra. And that's why you hear the word Kala Chakra. The time is also a chakra. So whatever is tomorrow, it becomes yesterday when you extend the time on either sides, right? So tomorrow becomes yesterday. And then if you were to consider that as a closed line, right? So what is yesterday? If you go further back, the yesterday was a tomorrow at some time, right? So yesterday can also be tomorrow. So there's actually a circle, a circular thing. And that is what these cycles are. So there is Satyuga, then there is, what is it after that? Satyuga,
Treta Yuga.
Treta Yuga,
Dwapar Yuga.
Dwapara Yuga.
And Kali.
Kali Yuga. And after Kali Yuga?
Satyuga. Again,
Again,
Satyuga.
Satyuga.
Again. Right? So you see, this is the cycle that is there, right? Similarly, all of you, when you were growing up, read about this cycle. And when I tell you, you will say yes. Did you hear about the water cycle? Did you read about the
Yes,
water cycle?
Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
And what is
So
water cycle? Water cycle.
When
Water.
it rains, the water from the clouds is released and then it comes down and it condenses and then it evaporates and goes back to the clouds. That's the short.
That's the short one, right? Yeah. So short answer to the question. And so it starts with the ocean, right? And then the ocean, and yes, Virahabhav says that sun absorbs the water. Yeah. So the sun gives heat and light, so it falls on the water, on the oceans, the big bodies, ponds, lakes, and the water evaporates and goes up. So that's the Surya Devta, your demigod, who's working there on that. He's responsible for that part of it, right? And then the water has to condense and become clouds. And who's in charge of that?
Indra.
Indra is in charge of the rains, right? So there are tons and tons of water that gets evaporated, and tons of water that gets condensed into clouds. And it's indeed a miraculous thing that how these tons of water can stay on the top without falling on our head. Right? I mean, too much of water, through water in the industry, we use water to bend iron pipes. So water can have so much of, force. For those of you who watched the tsunami that came a few years ago in Japan, you see what the water was doing, right? How powerful water can be. And that is Varun, demigod Varun, who's taking care of, that fury that is there. So Indra holds up all that water in the sky. And according to his rule, of course, he consults with Krishna. According to his rules only, some parts will get water and some parts will not get water. Similarly, there is tornado that happens, right? So my sister-in-law has got some, vineyards in Merced, I think. I think it's Merced, Meera, Mataji. So they have got huge, lands. And so hers, and then somebody else's, and then somebody else's, her plot, somebody else's plot, and somebody else's plot, like that. And she says it happens, the tornado will come and destroy just one field. and leave the other untouched. So why does that happen? So it's not that I'm a self-made man, I'll work really hard on my vineyard or on my almond fields or whatever fields that they have, and then I will be able to reap the benefits of that. No, there are so many things which are there that come into our lives. And this is Adi Devik, Tap, right? The demigods are doing it. The floods come into your home, Varuna, wash away everything in the field. Or a tornado comes, Pavan Devta, right? Like that. Or sun goes behind the clouds, so your crops are not cooked properly. So like that. So all these demigods are playing a role in our lives. And of course, there is this water cycle which is there, right? Now, what about a cycle that Krishna mentioned here, right? So what did he say? There was a cycle there, and he said that, it was not exactly, all parts of the cycle were not mentioned there, but we know that we have fallen, right? So it starts from there. The cycle starts from there, that you disobey the Lord and you fall down. But when you fall down into this material world, then the Lord, in the beginning, what did he say? I create generations of men and demigods. And I also give them the Vedas to understand, right? That they have to do sacrifices. They have to perform yajnas. And then later on, he says, yajna is born from prescribed duties. So what yajna, who is supposed to do what yajnas, depends on what duties you have been assigned. And we talked about that there are living beings, who come, and when you once come down, they say that when you fall down from the top here, then you become a Brahma of the universe. And so you have got really long life. You have been imparted the Vedas by the Lord himself. And if you choose to, you can just use that and just go back to Godhead. But if you mess around and you say, well, I want to enjoy this and I want to enjoy that, I want to enjoy this, then from the post of Brahma, you will fall down. And depending on what you did, you will fall down to appropriate species in life. There are 8,400,000 species of life into which you can fall, right? So he says that I have given you, the falling down starts from up, the cycle is starting, so you're falling down, but as you fall down, there's a parachute of sacrifice given to you by the Lord, and then there's an instructor with you, the demigods, of course. Then you come down here, and you can go through, all the species of life or whatever you want. But if you do your sacrifices, if you please Vishnu, then you will go back again, right? That's a proper cycle. You fall down, you do your yajna properly, and then you go back. That's a good cycle. And you can also have a very, very lingering cycle. And the lingering cycle is that you fall down, you become Brahma, and then you don't do things properly, so you come to a lower level and you want to enjoy something. And while you're enjoying this, right, so you go to a restaurant and you had a desire to eat something. Give me an example of something that you might want to eat or somebody might want to eat. Rasmalai says Arjuna Mataji. Okay. So now to get Rasmalai, and pizza says Virava Bhav. Okay. So so where will you go? And we will satisfy both your both of you ladies. So where will you go to get the Rasmalai?
The sweet store.
The sweet shop.
You will go to Govinda's. Okay. Now when you go to Govinda's, you have gone to take a Rasmalai. Now does Govinda sell only Rasmalai?
Many things.
What is there in the sweet section of Govinda's? It's a section I dread to go.
Lots of it.
Prasadam.
Lots of
They sell prasadam.
Lots of it. It's lots of beautiful cakes and croissants and pastry. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Right? Gulab jamuns, rasgullas, rasmalais, laddus. So many of them are there, right? So when you venture out to enjoy something, Maya is going to offer you a lot more. She's going to show you other things there. And that is where the lingering starts, the stalling starts. Then you're like, okay, laddu bhi pack kar dena. Right? And then guess what? At least when I was growing up, it was considered to be ill manners to be eating on the road, to be eating in front of everybody, right? But nowadays it doesn't happen. You see people that are driving the car, they have a brown bag on the lap and there are donuts in the bag and they're taking out the donuts and they have something they're sipping and they're driving the car, in car stops and red light, they're putting eye makeup. All things happen in the public these days, right? Things which were supposed to be done in the private. So not only do you ask them to throw in some few extra things, we can't even control our senses. And on the way to the car, we'll open the bag and start eating, right? Like that. And then, of course, you went for Rasmalai. Now you got 2 more things. And then you get 2 more things. And then you get 2 more things. Like that. So this cyclical thing, happens in our lives all the time. And sometimes the cycles are delayed. So what is this going to do? This Rasmalai and the laddu. Of course, you went to Govinda, so you were saved, Archana, because you meant to get prasadam. But not everybody goes and gets prasadam. You can go and get some other thing as well from any other shop. And that is you are eating sin. So now your sinful reactions have accumulated. Now in order to get rid or to, consume your credits or your sinful credits, you have to be punished. Right? So depending again on what sort of sin you did, you will get an appropriate body and you will be born in an appropriate planet at an appropriate time. So this means this is where the lingering happens even more. Because we did something to somebody and wanted to now enjoy chicken, and we ate a chicken and now the chicken has to eat us. But the chicken also has to get a suitable body to be able to eat us. So we have to both wait, for both of us to die. And then I become maybe a worm, but the chicken maybe has also become a worm. So she can't eat me now. So chicken, again, we have to wait through cycles of birth till the right combination happens and the chicken eats me. So this is exactly how it happens, right? So when you go down, all that you're doing in the hellish planets is that there are no pious activities, no good activities, no spiritual activities you do. You're just being punished, and you are just living your sentence there, right? That's what you do. And then, so within this also, there are cycles within cycles that happen. For example, a thief commits something, and then he goes to the jail. and he does some hard work there, and he comes out, and guess what? He steals again. Then he goes to the jail again, and he comes out. So these little cycles will keep on happening. Go to the jail, come. Why? Because the tendency to steal has not been removed. Same thing happens for enjoyment also. So there are some people, the Mammonist philosophy, as Prabhupada says, that those who want to work hard and enjoy, they say, I'm going to work hard and enjoy. They are primarily thinking about this life. Usually they are thinking about this life because nobody told them about the other life. And because they think that there's only one life, so there is this eagerness and the urgency to enjoy. Because, time is racing again. What if my teeth fall down? Right? I won't be able to chew and eat walnuts. So they have to, so that urgency is there, so they want to enjoy here. Now, some get smarter and they understand, they read from the Shastras that, there is life after death. Oh, so then I should plan for that also. So then they start planning activities for life after death. And so I want to, so there are other planets. So Aruni Mataji was saying that all the planets are circular. Okay, maybe I want to go to another circular planet. Are all of them same? So now you go and open Bhagavatam and you reach Canto 5 and you say, oh, these planets are amazing. Oh, the rivers of nectar and rivers of mango juice. This is just amazing. I want to go and live there. And the Vedas will tell you, because you have a desire to do that, the Vedas are going to tell you. So you go up there. But remember, what happens is that the moment you go to any of these heavenly planets, it's again as if your parents sent you with some 5 rupees or 8 rupees or 3 rupees or something like that. Right? I remember once when I was a young kid, there was a sale in my school or fair in my school. And my mom gave, I think, 3 rupees. It was a big amount of money at that time. 3 rupees to me and, my other siblings. And so we all went there. And I went to, one place where there was a lucky dip and you give them 50 paise and you put your hand in a basket and you take out something and you get, a cheap toy, which broke, in a few minutes and things like that. And then so I went to all the game stalls and I finished my 3. I think I was just left with 20 paise or something like that. And I was hungry and I was sitting, in one corner, not knowing. And then my sibling came and said, you are stupid. Why did you do that? You should have invested your money in something better. You should have eaten something with some money. Now let's take you with your 20 paise to a stall and you will know that you can get a lot of to eat with 20 paise. And that was a lot to eat in those days. So people don't know how to invest the money in the right place. Nevertheless, we have to remember that if you've got money and if you are using the money, then the money gets exhausted. You have to remember that, right? If you did a lucky dip, the money is going to go away. So similarly, when you go to these higher planets by doing pious activities, and now you have, after life has become better after death. So we've gone there. And the moment you go there and whatever little thing that you do in the heavenly planet, you want to take a glass of nectar from the mango river. Okay, drink 2 glasses of nectar, but there's a bill for that. So there's always a bill. And so the demigods are keeping track of your pious credits and they know. And this will be eye-opening for you. That when a person's pious credits in the heavenly planets are over, how do they come here? How do they come here? They don't, because devtas are amrit, right? People think they don't die. There's no death over there, so to speak. There are no electric crematoriums there in the heavenly planets like that. So how do they die? Varshana Mataji wants to say something. Go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, I heard this, that they come through rain.
Yes, they come to rain. Yes, definitely they do. But before that, in that cycle, so they are literally kicked out of the heavenly planet. Literally kicked out. And so when they know that I'm now falling from my heavenly planet, that my vacation is over, so when they are coming down, now they have a body, right? So the body gets eaten by some birds which are there. And so when he sees his condition like that, then tears fall from his eyes and those tears come down in the form of a rain. And in those tears, his soul comes through that tear and as part of the rain, right? And when those
Then
rains fall,
it goes to the seeds which are sown on the land, and then you see the grain is grown, and then it is eaten by the people. So the cycle carries on. Yes.
exactly. So now you see the cycle, the rain and the grain, which Krishna was talking about. So there is more to those cycles. So this is how you fall down. So people should not, it will be foolish after listening to all this narration to still want to go to the heavenly planets. This is the planet where we are living. That's why we are very lucky that this is the planet where we are living, because this is a planet where you can accrue some good work, you can earn your money here. In the heavenly planets, it's a vacation, it's a $3, sale, 3 rupee sale, whatever you take, you have to part with your money. If you go to the hellish planets, again, you're not doing any spiritual activities. There's no sukriti that you're gaining there. All that you're doing is they're punishing you. And you're saying, I won't do it again. I won't do it again. And of course, we forget when we come back up here, because the tendency has not gone to enjoy. And there's only one thing that can get rid of that tendency in our hearts to enjoy, and that is through doing the devotional service. So there is this, that one can go into the cycle of going to the heavenly planets, coming down to the earth again, doing something worse, and going down to the hellish planets, and then coming back again to this middle planetary system, and doing something bad again going to the hellish planets. So you can do that cycle loop over there, or you can go to the loop on the top, keep on going upari ada. Upari means top, ada means down, right? You can go going that cycle also, up and down, up and down, up and down, right? Shine punya marta lokam vishanti. When your punya are exhausted, then you will come down over here, like that. So that is also a cycle which is there, right? So all these cycles are there, all these cycles are mentioned. And Krishna is telling that, in the beginning I created this, and he walks through that cycle, that there are rains, and then rains produce grains, and you live like that. Krishna did not say that rains will also give grass, and grass will create cows, and you eat a cow. He did not say that. If he wanted to, he would have told us that. He did not say anything like that. He's talking about grains. And then later on, he says, okay, then you say, what will I eat with grain? Sukhi roti, Krishna, how will I eat it? So in chapter 9, he's going to tell you, well, there'll be salad, patram, right? Palam, there'll be dessert in the form of fruits, right? So you can eat all that, right? So, so he has told us how to, to do this. And in order to do that, he said that you have to cooperate with the demigods, right? Now, we also have to understand that not only the demigods, we also have to cooperate with material nature. We should not become, complete enjoyers of the material nature and say that, everything here is for my enjoyment. And in the earlier days, people were very scared of the nature, right? They were praying for the Lord to stop the rains, and, praying to the Lord to stop this and stop that, or to give us rains, right? And the interesting thing here is that when we have yajna, and this is the principle of yajna, that when you have yajna, so we said when you do yajna, you will get rain, right? And we were thinking that from the rain, we will get the grain and we will eat the grain. But now, as Varshana Mataji pointed out, that through the rain, the souls also come down through the rain, right? That's also something important to keep in mind. So we might just think, so this is what people used to, they were scared, and that's why they were worshipping the rivers. Because if the river changes the track, then there will be floods. Or if the river dries up, then how to water your fields. So they were very much dependent on the Mother Nature. So no wonder they worship Mother Nature like that, right? But when the science starts to advance, as the science starts to advance, we say, okay, there's no rain. I can fly an aeroplane, and I will go on top of the clouds, and I will throw some ice on it, and I'll get rain like that, right? So slowly, we think that we are able to control Mother Nature and have my way. Now, my question to you is, have we really controlled Mother Nature? And whatever answer you give, you have to support it. Ooh, somebody wrote jalebis here from a previous text. Okay, fine. Have we really control? Is Mother Nature under our control?
No,
You have to
Mataji.
support, yeah, you have to support that. Whatever you say, you have to support it.
Yes, Mataji, we have cut all the, you see, forests and constructed all the buildings and have made houses. So there is no enough oxygen. And now we are struggling for the oxygen.
Now you're struggling for the oxygen, right? Yeah. Yeah. And then depleting all the, we depleted all the forest, and what also led? It led to something happening up there on the ozone layer. There's a hole in the ozone layer. And now you're getting all these dirty rays come in, which are causing cancer and other diseases like that. Yeah. Meera, let me see who was here. Shana, Viravabha, and then Meera.
No, Mataji, because we have these floods and all this kind of stuff, like earthquake, and also the earth is really drying up, and the crops that we used to have is not as nutrient as it used to be before. And then there's no rain, and then there's this huge difference of weather change. Like sometimes it's really hot, sometimes it's very cold. It's not constant, and there's this wildfire and everything. So I don't think we can ever control Mother Earth.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Meera Mataji.
Yes, it's similar to what the Mataji said right now. Last year, actually, I went to a chiropractor, and somehow we ended up talking about the wildfires in California. And he goes, oh, I said, when 20, 30 years ago, we didn't hear about these wildfires. Where are these fires coming from? So he was telling me that all these trees in the hills, because because we are always having drought, they're very, very dry. So as soon as there is somebody throws a match or cigarette or something, a lot of fire, it immediately catches fire, and it just spreads really fast. So I was wondering, is it Indra is made with us in California, because in Fresno, we already are having Madeira, Fresno. There's already news about wildfires, and today some streets have to be evacuated.
Yeah. And actually last year it was not, I mean, traditionally Southern California and people and cities south of California used to get, or south of where I live, used to get these fires. Last year we had 3 days of ashes falling down. There was ash in my patio.
Yeah.
Because coming from the fire. And it's very interesting that you bring this topic up, because in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a chapter when Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha are going to be born. There are so many ill omens. There were so many ill omens, and one of them said, there was lightning without clouds. And I was like, what does it mean to have lightning without clouds? And last year in July or August, I had the whole night, there was lightning without clouds. There were no clouds in the sky, but you could hear the lightning rumbling. There was a storm, horrible winds were blowing and things like that. So, fire is Agni Devta, Meera Mataji, and not Indra. Indra has to be pacified. Indra has to be made happy, so that Indra will then pour the rains on the fire. Because forest fires it's not easy for human beings to put out forest fires. To put out forest fires, you require something, more powerful to do that. And so one of the sannyasis who had come to his Silicon Valley, and he said something which was really an eye-opener to me. He said that when illicit sex increases in a particular area, you have fires, wildfires like this. And I was like, wow, all the fires start from Bollywood, down south, Los Angeles area. So it is true. And so if there are fires around us, it is just telling you what's happening. So when these kind of, people start indulging in immoral activities, the demigods don't like it, they get angry. And so you get all these trivid tap, right? 3 types of tap are there, Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik, right? And Adi Daivik. So these Adi Daivik, which are coming from the demigods, are there and meant as a punishment for us, but we don't get it. We don't understand that. And something very interesting that you brought up, the topic of your chiropractor. So there was once a time in my life when I had a lot of pain in my hands from, working on the computer. So I was seeing, and there was pain in the shoulders, etc. And I was seeing a chiropractor. And so she was a lady, very hefty. I think she was from Ireland or France, tall, 6 feet, 80, very, very hefty. And I think chiropractors have to be hefty to kind of twist and turn you here and there. But anyway, she was very much into naturopathy, and she gave me an experiment. She asked me to. There was an experiment. She asked me to close my eyes, and then, and she was, she put some medicine in my hands like that, and then she said she pulled, she stretched her hand and she asked me to pull her hand and bring it down like that, like bring it down with this thing. She was putting the medicine on I was lying down. She was putting the medicine on my stomach. She had a vial and she would just put the vial there. And then she would ask me to pull her hands. And so once, and she was resisting, so this lady, strong lady, she's resisting. And so I could not pull her hands. And I was thinking, fine, I'm the patient. My hands already are giving problems. And you are a hefty lady, how can I pull you? And then afterwards, she removed that vial. She put another thing there and she asked me to pull again. And she was resisting. I was able to pull her. I was very surprised. And then she said, do you know what was the difference? So 2 things happened. One was that first time she put the vial on the stomach in a plastic vial. And the second time she put the medicine, it was in a glass bottle. And so when it was plastic, I didn't have that energy. When it was a glass, I had energy. So forget about eating the medicine, where the medicine is kept, what kind of a thing, a natural thing, whether it's a natural thing or whether it's a plastic, that was there. And on her part, if she was standing on the ground with bare feet, which means that she was touching something natural, Prakriti, she was touching nature. I was not able to bring her down, But if she was wearing her rubber sole, shoes, plastic shoes or something like that, then I was able to pull her down. So I was very, very surprised with that experiment. And so during that experiment, then she had asked me to take some pills and things like that, which were more vitamin supplements. And she said, you have to take supplements in this age because of the way we grow our crops. Because now we want quantity and not quality. So she said, whatever iron, like people say, for iron, you eat spinach. It's good for your health. And she said, for whatever iron that you need, if you are low in hemoglobin, and doctor says you have to eat iron, you need to get iron. So she said, whatever iron you would get from 1 cup of spinach in the 1960s, you would need 70 such cups now. That's the degradation that has happened. So we think that we have conquered Mother Nature and we are now able to produce more and more and more from Mother Earth. And, yes, but there are consequences of that. And we don't know, we are suffering from diseases that we have not heard of before. So it never happens. So we have to learn how to cooperate with nature, cooperate with the demigods, cooperate with the Vedas, and live the right life the right way. And then you will get out of this cycle of birth and death. So the cycle. And so there's Shraddha Chakra, which is, Krishna's hands. That's also a circle. So let that chakra, that chakra help you cut the Kal chakra that is, tying you to the material world and tying all of us actually to the material world. Let that do that. Yeah. So I see some hands have risen here, Varshana Mataji and Chitapa Mataji.
Mataji, you said the soul comes down in the rain. I also read it. And Mataji, when we just put our hand outside and the rain is falling, and if the drops fall on our palm, that means, is the soul in my hand also somewhere?
Not necessarily. It depends on when a person is fallen from that place, right? And it can fall, but it's the soul. It doesn't happen, right? We can even drink that drop water; it will come out, and then it will go into the soil. Some other insect might eat it, right? So it depends on the destiny of the soul. right? The soul has to get, that grain has to be eaten by a man, so that then it'll go into the semen of the man, the soul, right? And then enter into the womb of the mother to be born. So this is the whole cycle. There's a cycle there also. There's a cycle everywhere, right?
Very complicated, Mataji.
Very complicated, yes, yes. And Kunti Devi also was talking about her cycle, right? She started Nama Pankaja Nabhaya, Namaha Pankaja Maline, Nama Pankaja Netraya, Namaha Pankaja Angriya. So then she went down, right? So she also did kind of like, a whole circle like that. Okay, over to you, Sutapa Mataji, for the last question of the day.
Mataji, it's about that controlling the weather. So I'm just sharing an experience. Mataji, last 3 days, this northeast region is it's having like 40-degree temperature, which is very, very unusual, like the winter. So instead of air conditioner, we had to put the heat back on. So I was just thinking, yes, we can control our thermostat, but not the nature. And I was thinking, means what is happening? Is there anything wrong? Because in the month of May, it's end of May today. So it was so cold. Everybody were wearing the jackets and everything.
Yeah, I always think there was something very interesting, and I don't know how many of you will be able to relate to, or at least you would have seen this, that women have, blackheads on the nose, right? And they are really long, they're really deep rooted. And so they used to have a very torturous way of removing them. At least 30 years ago, you go to a beautician and then she would have a little rod which had a little loop in the end, and she would put that loop around your blackhead, and she would press it down and the blackhead would pop out, and then she would wipe it away. But then the way they had to press your nose, it was really hard. Your nose would be red, you'd be crying. And so, but you want it to look beautiful. So women will do anything, right? To look beautiful. So men also. And so so when I came here to USA, I spotted something very nice here this was 25 years ago, that, there was something, there's a piece of paper with something stuck there, and you could just put it on your nose and it would stick like a glue. And after some time, you just pull it off, and lo and behold, all the blackheads were sucked out by the piece of paper. There was pain, very little, but not like somebody, pressing your nose. So I was very, very happy, and I thought, oh, I have conquered the blackheads. And guess what? Next time when I was going to India, I thought I'll go to Vidya Vadhu and I will gift her this, nice thing, like, hey, I brought this nice thing for you. So I go there and I give her this, and she says, but I don't get blackheads. Oh my goodness. Right? So we think of all kinds of things. We think that we have made all kinds of discoveries and solutions. I mean, they will have some back effect, in the end. Right? Like that. Yeah. So just follow the Vedas and then go to, do the yajnas. And yeah. So these set of verses there are saying that, okay, Karam Kandi, they're kind of talking a little bit about Karam Kandi in the sense that if you have desires, you want to fulfill those desires, then, do it the proper way. Use the yajna. And then after this 17th verse onwards, we'll start talking about Nishkam Karma, where you do things only for Krishna. Mm-hmm. So, which we
one small question. One small thing I want to ask, may I, Mataji? Mm-hmm. Mataji, the other day we had Guru Maharaj's Sangha. Guru Maharaj said 3 things to remember. That is, communicate with others, learn better. What was the first one, Mataji? Relate, realize, I don't know.
Oh, I also don't remember, because when I'm running these, I have to wait to listen to the recording, because when I'm running these conference calls, I'm not able to hear a word, because there's constant work that we do. All 3 of us, do behind the scenes that none of us hear the words. Okay. Because people are coming in, there's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes. But we'll be releasing the recording. Maharaj allowed us to release it to the disciples. And
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It was either relate or realize, something like that. Realize or relate, I don't remember. And then communicate with others and learn better. So these
as part of
three
etiquette.
things he said, yeah, part of etiquette.
Yes, and you know what? When it comes to etiquette and relate, you know, so we have to follow an etiquette with Mother Nature also. You see, so this verse and these verses are talking about the etiquette with Mother Nature. You just don't go and grab everything. How you pluck trees. How you pluck trees. I mean, I remember pluck things off the tree. I remember there was a yajna to be, somebody's initiation was going to be to happen the next day, and we were going to decorate the yajna kunda, and I was supposed to organize all the material, and the designer asked for some special leaves, and they said they are in such and such Mataji's home. So I have been organizing all that, and by the time I could catch hold of the Mataji at 8 o'clock, I said, Mataji, can I send somebody over? There's this Prabhuji is willing to drive over to your place and get them, because we need them at before 4 o'clock in the morning the next day, because we have to decorate it. She said, the plants are sleeping. I won't give you. I was shocked, you know, I was shocked.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
after that, I have
please continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was saying after that, I was very careful to not to pluck things after sunset.
After sunset.
To give that respect to other people, relate that they are. I mean, now that we have read so much of the scriptures, and we know that soul is there same, it doesn't change. So all the plants around you could have been your relatives in the previous world, right?
Can we water
Mataji,
after
one
sunset?
information which will be good for others also. May I say, Mataji?
Yeah, but we'll have to cut short one more.
Yes, Mataji, Janma Mataji says when you are taking out the leaves from the tulsi, you have to be very careful. First thing, you are not supposed to touch this finger. Second thing, she says, take your thumb, take this finger and hold the plant with these two fingers and press it so that it comes out easily, so that rest of the plant is not hurt. So she's very careful. She taught us how to do it also.
Very nice. Yes. Yeah, you can water the plants after sunset. Yeah. And Meera Mataji is asking a question. And so you see, I mean, I remember my nuns in my school used to scold us, like, you know, when you're walking, just don't pull. Kids will do, they'll pull leaves from the plants. And you just imagine, it's almost like, you know, somebody's coming and pulling hair from my hand. How will I feel? It's like that. So yeah, that relation goes beyond that. So thank you for bringing that up. But I have to, I have to take a leave now. Good